Teacher Rusty, and good afternoon, good morning, or good evening to every one of you who is watching this right now. And since most of my students are actually business individuals and they're always writing emails, sending emails, or replying to emails, so I made this course for all of you guys. This is how to write business email. So please remember the tips and the do's and the don'ts in writing a business email. I hope you will learn from this. Thank you. Check this out. Hello, so for today, I'm going to discuss or show you how to write business email. So I know business email is very important because most of you are actually business individuals or working individuals who are writing emails, sending emails, or replying to emails. And of course, let's begin with the etiquette. There are also, of course, some confusion about how to write emails to someone, like what tone is appropriate or whether to use slang or abbreviation, since we are sending these emails to different people or diverse individuals. We just need to remember that it is best to open and close an email using dear at the beginning and, of course, best regards, best wishes at the end. And saying hi as a greeting is a no go. It's very informal, so it should be a no, and it's not really appropriate for business emails unless you are familiar with the person you are writing to. Please remember, saying hi is too informal for a business email. And don't forget these things. You should always write emails with the same care that you would use to write a formal letter. Okay, I would just like to emphasize the care as you would like to write business emails. Be formal and use the appropriate words. Always check your spelling and your grammar, and also remember that sloppy communication or giving a bad impression to your readers is also bad for you and for the organization that you belong. And of course, resist the temptation of writing shortcut messages. Some of the people now, or some of us, are used to writing text in short formats, like wait, instead of saying the wait as a complete spelling, you will say W and H. So it's a big no-no for writing business emails. Please don't forget. And next is addressing an email. So of course, we need to specify these parts of the email, especially for the email address. So for the to line, this is where you type the email address of the person you are writing to. For the CC or the carbon copy, this is for the email addresses of other people who need to see the information in your email. And for the BCC, which is the blind carbon copy, so these addresses is where you put in if you want you want other people not to see those people who receive these messages. And always use the correct field so people know who you expect to act first on the information. So don't interchange them. Of course, to the to the to line, it should be the direct person you want this email to act on it immediately. And for the CC and BCC, those are the people that you just need to inform that you've already sent your email to the proper person. Next is how not to write a business email. So whatever you do, don't do this. So this is an example of a very informal email. So let's start with the opening or the greeting. So saying dude in a business email is too informal. And look at this second paragraph. Okay, so that is an attempt of adding a poor attempt of adding a personal touch, and it's too informal. It's not so clear. It's very unclear of what you're saying. And for the third paragraph, you're being too indecisive, and there are like doubts on what are you trying to say. And you also wrote an emoticon, which is a definite no-no if you're writing a formal email or a business email. And then for the closing part, saying cheers is okay. If you are really close and you're already having a great relationship with your client or the person you're writing to. But if not, just avoid using the cheers as a closing. And don't ever put a signature or an initial in the name part to close your email. So always put your full name, and it's the proper way. Don't forget about it. And for the next stop, okay, so this is the part of your email. It should be that the greeting should be formal and not familiar. For example, if you are writing this email to a man, okay, so instead of saying Miss Alvarez, of course, this is a no, okay, because you are not familiar and you want it to be formal, so you said Miss Alvarez instead of Mr. because you don't know the gender or who is Mr. or Miss Alvarez. So instead you wrote Miss Alvarez to avoid this kind of situation. And if you are not sure of the title that you want to use, to avoid gender confusion and gender specifics, you can look for the title or the position of that someone, maybe in the internet, or you can ask someone what is their position in the company. So instead of saying Miss Alvarez to a man, you can say Professor Alvarez or dear director, instead of being specific, and there will be a confusion because you don't know what is really his or her gender. And of course, if you are not sure of his position, you don't know the title, you are not sure of his gender, so you can just say dear sir or dear madam. So those are the safest way of addressing your email in the greeting part. And next, okay. For the next part, you can also use to whom it may concern. So people use to whom it may concern if they're writing recommendation emails or they're writing to a corporation or a company. For example, if they're writing to FedEx, to a bank, or to an airline, and you don't know who are you talking to, and you have some concerns about your maybe flights, deliveries, or bank transactions, you can use to whom it may concern. And if you're addressing a group of individuals or in a department, you can also use these examples. So these are examples of addressing a group. And for the next part, so this is how to write a business email. So this is a better example. So as I mentioned, there are 4 parts in a business email. As you can see, the subject line, which is Dear Steven, okay? And for the greeting part, this is where you are going to give appreciation and say thanks, especially if this is a reply email. Don't forget to say thank you to the previous email that you have received, and you can also give greetings like how are you, I hope you're doing well, and also give appreciation to whatever was the email before. And for the email text, always be careful. don't make it too long. You are not writing a book, you are writing an email. Make it concise and say whatever you want to say directly. And to make the email readable, don't make the text congested. You can separate them in 4 to 5 paragraphs and just make each paragraph like 1 to 4 sentences, to avoid confusion and to make it more readable for the reader. And for the closing, you can use a more formal closing: kind regards, best wishes, and then your full name. Thank you. And as I've mentioned, make it short, make it concise. You are not writing a book. Make it formal and close it well. Next. Okay, so as I've mentioned, these are the things to remember. So be concise, make your paragraph shorter, make it direct to the point. Remember that some people receive hundreds of emails every day, and if your email is too long for them to read, you might end up to be like the last email that they are going to read for the day, and you don't like that to happen. So for the next part is use a formal email address. So it's better to have an email address which is the domain of your company, or an email address which is named, of course, after you. Okay, so avoid inappropriate email addresses like this one here, for example, hotlips@yahoo.com.uk. Doesn't sound good, and it's too informal, and it doesn't look like a formal email address. Please avoid doing so. And for the next part to remember, so things to remember still. Okay, so keep subject line short. So if you're going to put a subject line, these examples of subject line are poor. Saying hello in your subject and like dear Jerry in your subject is too unclear and not too specific. The reader would be confused. So better examples would be for the subject is directing what you want to say or your concern for the email. For example, you will say requesting a meeting, or canceling my order, requesting for a leave of absence, confirmation of my order. Those are the better examples. Okay, so make sure the titles are clear in the subject, and it would also help your reader to go back to that if they want to read that later, in the later time of the day. So keep them short and keep them direct. Part. Okay, so please remember the writing basics in writing an email. Always remember, you should remember to check your spelling, your grammar, your punctuation, and your capitalization. So before you send your email, always and always and always proofread your email. Don't send your email without checking everything. It would be the bad part there. If you don't check it, then everything would be a mess. If you just forget to spell a very simple word correctly, it's not good. And of course, another do for writing an email: think about culture and consider your readers' feelings and culture. So most of the lessons and courses about business emails and writing emails are, of course, in line with the North American culture. But of course, are the people in Japan, or are the people in France, or are the people in the Middle East have the same way of writing emails, or do they receive and send emails the same way as the North Americans do? Of course not. So you should always think about their culture. Think about if the email is too formal, it might offend them, or think about the email is too informal, it might also really offend them. So consider your reader and consider you as a sender. culture, if you have met their cultural needs, and if you are able to think about your cultural differences, that is very important. For the next part, okay, so all of it, we have already tackled everything in the email, like how to write business emails, what to do, what are the things to remember. So these are the summary of what we have learned. So for the dose, always have a professional email address, and for the subject line, make it clear and brief. Always include words of appreciation in your greeting, and consider the culture. Culture is very important, especially if you're working in a global company or international company and you're talking to a lot of diverse individuals from different country. Always consider the culture. How would they feel if I will write this email? How would they see me as a sender? Always consider that. It's very important. And for the don'ts, don't make mistakes. Don't write long emails. You are not writing a book. Be concise and be direct. For the spelling, always check your spelling. Always check your grammar, your punctuation, and your capitalization. In your email text, don't complain or blame someone. Always go to your needs and to the things or concerns that you want to specify. And don't ever send your email until you check them. Always check your email. Always check everything. Okay. And I guess we have tackled all the topics that we need to observe and we need to learn in writing business emails. I hope you find them interesting and helpful in writing business emails, and you can always rewatch this video, or if you have any concerns and if you have any questions, and if you want to put your learnings into practice, you can always book a class with me and specify your lesson or the course that you want to learn regarding writing business emails. I'm always here to help you. Thank you so much for listening and for watching this video. Ciao. Bye for now.